We are about to start our first game.
And here we go. We've got a very decent plane path coming over here from the northeastern side, over next to Kameshki, down right over Ferry Pier. So even our military-based guys, and those guys like to go for Morsk, are going to be pretty happy with it. Our Georgia Pool teams, although Georgia Pool hasn't been getting a lot of attention in drops these last couple of games, a lot of people really do like to drop there on the online events, and it's kind of been the meta place to drop. That's going to be a little bit hard to get to.
Yeah, for Georgia Pole, as you can see on the minimap, very far away from the plane path. So for now, we're going to be looking at choke points specifically around that Rozhok area as teams try to land for vehicles. So this area is going to be a little bit jumbled right now. There's also going to be a transition point here, depending on what the first circle does. But for teams like God Squad, those who haven't really been having a good tournament so far, the military base is open. We might see a team maybe try and get down there and clean up some easy kills.
And that's been one of the big factors that a lot of the teams have been talking about is, going back to your cars comment, trying to find vehicles. That we usually see somebody that are going to try to drop and compete for a vehicle. It happens fairly regularly in the early game. You know, two teams go for it. One guy ends up getting there first, runs over the other guy. This time around, the guys are having a lot of trouble spotting out vehicles, finding anything. They seem to be in a lot of the really odd spots around the map in the last couple of games. So trying to get to those vehicles has been a little difficult.
Looking at what Slime Squad is doing, they're giving a little bit of early game pressure to Tempo Storm, and it looks like since we have seen the first circle reveal itself that we are going to be headed to the military island. So all of a sudden the pressure is going to start to mount, especially for those who opt for the top end of the map, as people like Dignitas, Motivate, and Nova, and Orbit as well, all the way up in Kameshki.
Well, one of the things to note is Honeybadgernation is in 5th place. They play Nova every single time. Right. Nova is where they like to go. You can already see on the minimap they're making their way down there. Already got the boats, trying to get to that position. This is really going to favor them. They're going to get control, have time to loot. Meanwhile, the guys such as Dignitas on the far northern part of the map, they're still trying to make it over to their home of Severny, and they're going to have to gun it all the way back down across the map.
Absolutely. So for Honeybadgernation, they are going to be able to get to Nova. They're going to have a lot of time and space to loot for a team like Ghost. Now they have the opportunity to pick up some kills, potentially set up a camp situation. But for the rest of these other teams, it's going to be a quick loot and then trying to skirt those pressure points, especially around the bridges and the beaches. Try and find those boats and get around the edge of the map and find safety.
That's one of the things that every single competitive player dislikes about a military-based game is you have to choose when you're going to make that push over there. It's going to make it to where you have to really cut down your loot times, and you really have to rush to get to a position you consider to be a prime spot to hold and defend. We can see that NRG has already actually started to make that push into the general vicinity. Usually they loot for a very long period of time. They play around the Pachinki area, and they're already doing a hard push down over towards the military base island. So now we have 3 different teams that are already in a good position. Now it's a matter of how does everybody else get down to this island?
We've seen NRG in the past move early from Pachinki to get that dominant position, looking to hold on to that hilltop to the west of the military base, where they get a lot of flexibility to attack incoming teams. Spacestation Gaming is present in Ferry Pier as well. They may want to make the early transition, something that they have not been doing, and it's been costing them in the mid-game.
Now, I firmly agree with that. Like the transition sections that we've been seeing as it's going through here is the problem that we're having. A lot of people are liking to really condense down in the center of the map. Specifically on this meta, everybody just really wants to like crash into a specific spot. Everybody ends up in a really bad neighborhood. You have like 10 teams all stacked on top of each other within about 200-300 meters of each other. But this time around, it's going to be a little bit harder. That due center location is already going to be occupied by God Squad. You can potentially go, I guess, if you want to go 100% center, you can go around the hillside area. But we also have Spacestation Gaming making their push down as well, just like you're pointing out there.
So for Spacestation Gaming and NRG trading a little bit on the initial choke point on that western bridge. NRG is making it across. They want to set up that hilltop position, I imagine, but they have not had time to complete their loot phase. You can see that they have chosen to split out and try and get the trash compounds around that western military base area. And they may have the good position to start, but they might not have the equipment.
And that becomes the big risk factor. Naturally, you need the tools to propel you into the late game. So anytime you have to cut short your looting phase, you're showing up, you may not have all the meds you want, you may not have the prime armor, you may not have all your attachments, you may not even have the guns you feel comfortable with just because you're going for that prime position. Meanwhile, pro players, they can pretty much kill with whatever though. So as long as they get something in their hands where they feel fighting competent, they feel like they can get their meds, get whatever else off of the kills that they're going to get coming off of it.
I've just highlighted another compound here. You can see where Flyquest is arriving. There's a very nice hold there across this eastern bridge. You can see Honeybadgernation is in that area as well. Gankstars making a late push across the bridge. Flyquest in a position potentially to attack a transitioning Gankstars. Not sure what their equipment is like, Vexel, you can see as well, scoping out the bridges. So for now, the 2 bridges are the focal point of this early game.
So I think that that's what we're going to be looking at. Not a lot of teams look like they've managed to find any boats. So it's going to be the guys that are brave enough to go over the bridge, but let's be honest, they're competitive players. They know the risk factor in doing that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of people just taking cars, diving off the cliffs, and trying to make the swim over towards just the military base island proper, which means that we might see a lot of beachhead breaches that are coming inside of here. A couple of people might post up and try to kill people as they're trying to come out of the water.
With a minute before the first circle begins to shrink, you can see that most teams have decided just to hold spots for sight, for vision, trying to determine how many people are getting across, where are the choke points going to be. That island is only going to shrink in one direction. All that water will eventually come out. The main island will come out. So finding and hopefully getting that center base compound is going to be key here.
And also denying as many resources as you can. There's not a lot of cars. There's not a lot of vehicles on the other side. We talked about the bridge camps are really dangerous. People might have to swim across. So that means that there's not going to be a whole plethora of vehicles to be used. Normally, a lot of competitive players really like to crash their vehicles together, make a little fort, blow them up, and they have cover and no cover situations. If you can't get over these bridges fast and get into a good position with those vehicles, now you're just left having to play terrain pieces and buildings.
Absolutely. And we can see that Ghost is making that late push across, at least late as the first circle hasn't started moving yet, but they are one of the last teams to get across on this side. And you can see already where teams are banking in this center region on the right side or the east side of the military island. Honeybadgernation is set up. Flyquest is there as well. And they're just trying to pressure a transitioning Ghost who can't stay on this bridge, as already it's Caden taking the first shot of this game.
Just some hello bullets. They're like, hey, we see you. Maybe we can get a lucky headshot based off of it. Looked like Ghost was trying to get into a position to play some
guys in
catch
one
points.
car.
They're going to try to roll through. This is going to be really dangerous because it looks like they might be going over that west side. That's usually Ghost pull. They'll come up, curve back around, and that's going to put them right next to 2 to 3 different squads if they are not careful in this transition.
Yeah, so that's going to be moving past where I did see Flyquest just shortly, but they have been able to skirt that. They do have some terrain to work with. Flyquest has moved on a little bit further to their west. So they're going to try and maybe get down to one of these compounds, maybe split out to a different vehicle. Yeah, they're going to ditch 2 of their members here. Probably a good idea not to have everyone in one car. But they are moving right towards, I can't see who that is on the map. That's the God Squad is there, and the shots are coming on to Ghost. They have to be careful as Profi goes down.
This could be bad. Profi is one of their main killers, so God Squad's in a great spot, just trying to get a couple more shots on the side of it. You can see Caden's taking a lot of damage on the outside. He goes down as well. That's the guys at the top of the leaderboard losing 2 people very early.
This is not a good starting transition for Ghost, something they've had problems with in the past. That transition for Ghost is their weak point. God Squad taking 2 off of them in the early game is not great. God Squad is in a great spot here. They are all picking up kills on Gankstars as well, so God Squad being very active here.
These are the guys that land military base. This is their home. They know the terrain. They love to take fights here. They got their loot. They got everything out of military base. Now they're moving up to a great point to play around, and they are just getting downs and kills left and right.
So for these 3 kills very early, that's 5 players already down and out in this early game. You can see how the pressure begins to mount super early on these military island circles. God Squad not playing for too much at this point. They are on the back half of the leaderboard. Playing spoiler is something they're going to probably specialize in here through the rest of this day.
Now, while that was going on, we should point out that there was a little bit of a skirmish between Optic and Cloud9 as well. Those guys are playing around the northern coast on the main island proper. Looks like the guys from Optic separated out into 2 duos. One of them was still looting. One group came in contact with Cloud9 guys as they were trying to get ready to make the swim across, as Cloud9 is already doing a hard swim.
Absolutely. So for Cloud9, they are split. It looks like Slime Squad is kind of between them. Optic still trying to figure out a way if they want to maybe play the edge for the first couple of circles, maybe allow that pressure to clear itself as the first transition is completed. Matchroom, if you're Optic, how are you feeling going into day number 3?
I would say mixed. You know, I would say that most people expected Optic to really perform inside of this and definitely be in the top 3. Right now, they're holding that 7th spot, so they're at about 1,700 points, so about 500 points away from from getting that top 3.
Right.
And they really want to get into that position.
They need a win.
They need a win. They need to perform, and they just need to murder everyone around them. 15 points per kill. You've got to get as many kills as you can if you want to climb this leaderboard.
So you can see Hetero are already down from Optic, so not the early game start that they would want if they want to push for a win here. But Cloud9, having made it across, they're ferrying their members across one at a time. Moody, the captain, just picking up his members and dropping them off on the beach.
What is this, like a
he's
jet
a
ski
captain.
Uber
Yeah,
going on here?
Jet ski
Going back
Uber's
and
a good
forth?
one, yes, absolutely. So Cloud9 having to make it across. Looks like they should do it unscathed so far. Dignitas also on the trek down south. They're going to intermingle with Trigger Happy. And
look at this, though. On the map right now, we have Slime Squad in a boat. We've got Wildcard inside of a boat. We have Zampa with looks like Tempo Storm, yep. But the other guys from Tempo Storm have already made landfall on a specific point. NRG is already holding that complex that looks down along the coast for easy access for boats. So we're going to have about 3 teams all circling back over into this spot. Tempo Storm has the one walk path to make it up over there, so Wildcard and Slime Squad could be forced to crash into where NRG's at, and they're even getting a crate in the position. That's like a great present from heaven there. It's like, hey, just make it that much easier to hold this area because we're going to give you an M249.
No doubt. So looks like Wooly is going to have the ability to defend that beach, that level 3 helmet, the M249, all good things to have. So looks like they are just moving around in that compound. They're not going to have too much vision on the beach itself, but they are getting geared as the time goes past. So for K-Mind and the rest of NRG, they've been playing well, but you can definitely tell that this is their first time around.
Well, I would say, yeah, they keep getting into these points where they get the great positioning. Like right now, I would say they have a very good position. That's one of the stronger complexes you can play around. You can see that they have sight lines for days right now. They can affect a lot of the match. And NRG has been affecting a lot of positions. They've been forcing repositions, forcing cars to go to spots that they don't want to go to, forcing teams getting downs left and right. But because they're so loud and they get these prime spots, everybody starts gunning for them, and they want those spots. And NRG just has team upon team collapse on them. So it'd be really nice to see them kind of like hunker down and figure out how to survive through that onslaught phase that comes at them.
Managing those sight lines, not getting flanked, those things are all very important to success in this game. We have seen our first circle shift, and we are going to be centering right around that military base. Ghost making their trek there. They've already lost 2. Now they're going to be playing defensive. For a Ghost team that's already injured, they are just going to try their best to get into that top 10 position.
And look how active God Squad is. We talk about how this is their home. They're already inside of vehicles, repositioning. Remember, they went up there. They did the damage to Ghost a second ago. Now they're repositioning down to where they feel another comfortable spot is. They keep bouncing from choke point to choke point, so that way they can just net more kills. And that is the way to climb in this leaderboard if you're in the position that God Squad's in.
Absolutely, and you can see NRG already doing work, trying to keep Wildcard away from their beachhead. So that means Wildcard is going to have to adjust out and away. Motivate about to run into the same issue as you see. God Squad in transition, looking for a place to stop. They might opt for the planes here as they have been away from the military base for a while. But looks like they're just going to crash right back in and try and retake their home.
There was a little bit of vengeance there. You know, the guys from Ghost took a little bit of damage, got the 2 casualties. They repositioned in the spot, and that's where God Squad wanted to go. So they came hauling around the corner. Guys from Ghost just peppered them with a ton of bullets and forced them to pull out and go a different direction. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of a circle, I guess, just kind of bouncing around right here, going back and forth between it.
Absolutely.
Yes, I almost said it. Don't hate me, Jeff.
Circle, yep, absolutely. So as far as the rest of these teams are concerned, Flyquest is actually getting into it with Optic, who have lost Hypoc. So now with Flyquest and Optic getting tangled up, it's going to be a situation where Optic is just not having a good start to this game.
Yeah, every time they try to make a landfall position, they just run into another squad. That's the risk of running really far behind in a situation like this. You really want to make sure that you get to a point, you have control over your territory, and it feels like Optic right now is just chasing the circle. Meanwhile, the guys from Trigger Happy, all of them are doing the exact same thing, but they're playing way out on edge. So Optic moves into about 20% inside the circle, and they just keep getting caught every single time.
Yeah, it's been hard for them in rotation as well, and we see Hypoc will be rezzed. But that's another maybe set of helmets or otherwise they're not going to be able to keep. They're holding this long peak. Baja Waka going for these shots does scare Flyquest out of their window, but they do seem to have lots of eyes trained their way. But it's Cloud9 getting involved as well. Sharky getting taken down.
Slime Squad taking a little bit of damage here from the guys from Eunited. They're in a great position. You can see that there's the little bit of a hill back behind them, and they have this wall. They have the capability to maneuver through a lot of different spots that the circle can be at as long as they control this nice long wall right here. So that's why they're peppering shots into Slime Squad. Slime Squad had a great day too. We saw them pull off a lot of good clutch moments in there and move them into that 3rd place position. So it's really going to be interesting to see how they react now that it looks like they're in a couple of different spots, a little separated out. They're going to have to really control this territory that Eunited really wants to have a strong foothold in.
Well, we've seen this from teams in the past where they split on the military island because it can be so volatile if you're going north or south. You want to try and keep a compound secure for the rest of your squad, and you can try and transition to each other depending on where the circle shifts. But looking at the overall map, we have had some casualties based on on transition. Team Gates still stuck on the main island. You can see they have not made their way across yet. They're going to have to figure out what to do here if they want to swim. It looks like they're just ready to tank this blue for now. I'm not sure what their game plan is.
That's a lot of risk. That means they have to be sitting on a lot of stems. They're going to have to full stem, drop down, because the circle's about to collapse in. More than likely, it's going to move away from water even further. So that means that they're just going to have to be chasing the circle for about another 2 to 3 minutes. Blue damage the whole time. And these are competitive circles. They hurt way more than just your like regular run-of-the-mill matchmaking circle.
The early game will give you some flexibility, but as these circle shifts continue to change, and we will see another centered shift around the military base, this is going essentially dead center at this point. So for now, God Squad has retaken the military base and have spread out among them. Ghost is there along with Nova. Spacestation Gaming, however, has a great spot up on this hill. They should be able to manage transition teams here as well, getting those shots out and doing as much damage as they can.
Now, everybody's going to have to start collapsing. Military base circle close in like this is kind of a little surprising. There's a lot of dead space, specifically with where those airplanes are at. It's wide out and in the open. Honeybadgernation is just doing a hard push now. Right now, you can see that Eunited's taking a couple of pot shots at him. They're trying to make it off in the distance. It looks like Cloud9's finally managed to get their foothold inside of this as well.
Look at
guys
this.
From Orbit, guys from Gankstars, everybody's just trying to push in on that far eastern side.
Yeah, this is a mad dash for the center right now, and you can see teams like Honeybadgernation opting for the planes. Eunited already held up there. NRG also getting involved, trying to put pressure on Eunited at that fence area. Orbit taking the worst of it so far, losing a player, but Cloud9 is now getting close and maybe have spotted the remnants of Ghost Gaming.
And this is where it starts to get a little bloody, as everybody can now see each other. They know exactly where the prime positions to hold are. They have good expectations on where everyone is. There's 73 people alive. You have to imagine yourself, where's a place I would go? There's probably someone there.
Yep.
Take the pot shots at them.
Absolutely, and we do see actually Maluk going down. God Squad staying active again. Tempo Storm has arrived at the military base, but they are being welcomed by God Squad. Honeybadgernation also under fire from Eunited.
Look at that. That's actually a full-on kill onto Maluk as well. That is not going to be great for Tempo Storm. They're also trying to climb their way up the leaderboard right now. Meanwhile, the guys from Trigger Happy are slow pushing in, but they're getting a little bit gatekept by the guys from Flyquest.
So for Trigger Happy, they've had a good day too. They are the Cinderella story of this tournament, but they have a long track ahead of them. They're being completely zoned by Flyquest. They've got the optics, they've got the angles. Can Trigger Happy get around this?
You can see that they're doing a slow push out and around. 2 of their members have now made it to safety, but it's a matter of crossing that road. See, Gunner's lined up. He knows the moment he takes a shot, he's giving away his position, so he wants to make sure he can capitalize, and his guys can cross the moment they need to. They're very separated at the direct time. Gunner knows he has to hit this shot, does get a little bit of damage off over there. Now it's going to force Paradox back. At that moment, you can see, yes, one of the other members from Trigger Happy now starts the run, trying to make sure that they have a little bit of cover fire coming back over there, but now they're starting to get return fire thrown their way. This distraction could be enough to buy Trigger Happy to cross the road, though.
Gunner punched a hole in Paradox's helmet with that Mini 14 and now has forced Flyquest to try and return fire. Trigger Happy does not have any maneuverability. You can see the left side of that hill is wide open. They cannot move up that way. The circle is going to force them in that direction. Flyquest knows they have the zone on there. They also have that wide angle from something. You can see he's just taking a look out, making sure that they can't get up that flanking on the hill. So something is very key here. Trigger Happy's going to have to do something about him.
Well, it's great, though, because they managed to draw enough attention towards Gunner, and everybody now managed to make it over. You can see Shredded was doing a little bit of Frogger, running down the hill, jumping, trying to make it behind tree to tree, jumping over the street, trying to get into a position. Now everybody's pretty close to being inside the circle. The rest of Trigger Happy can push down. Flyquest is also going to have to slip out and go the other side of it, but we're going to go ahead and listen to the comms for Trigger Happy right now.
I wonder if they're singing.
I don't see anybody at yellows.
Disappointed missing it this time around.
It's not in the zone. Fear move up. Fear move up.
Knocked one.
Okay, Fear move up to like
That's big. They got something down.
That was Grandma. Fear, move up on orange. I want you to look at yellows with me.
Oh, and something's in a bad position.
Yeah,
Like
that's
he's
good
all
for
by
them.
his
Peek
lonesome.
over that ridge at yellow.
Yeah,
Let
he's in the
Gunner and Shredded concentrate on those guys.
He's not peeking the windows. I don't see anybody peeking the windows cover.
Yeah, they were peeking across the street.
Now circle. Ooh.
You can hear them.
I think yellows is clear cover. I think we.
You can hear them referencing the circle. We have seen another shift. It is staying around that military base, and you can see the kills are starting to mount. We'll come back to Trigger Happy and Flyquest as they decide where they want to go. Both teams have to move, but look at that center zone. It is getting very messy.
Everybody's just now doing the hard collapse, hopped in their vehicles, trying to find their spots, trying to find the great position that they can go to. Dignitas finding a bad rotation as they're trying to run into directly where Wildcard's at. That's going to be a free kill coming out onto them. Meanwhile, God Squad doing more damage to the guys from Tempo Storm. Zampa, your boy Dre, and BenQ5. I think that's a full elimination, and yes, Tempo Storm is down.
Wow, that is a huge loss for Tempo Storm, trying to make their way up the leaderboard. Going out first in this game is not what they would have expected, and you can see Trigger Happy also turning the tides on Flyquest at the northern portion of the map. But that center area, you can see Team Gates and Totality getting closer and closer together. Totality, the last place team in this tournament, looking to maybe just try and make an effort here on the last day, try and salvage some of that pride for Totality. Not the tournament they wanted, but this area around the military base is getting very hot.
And I have to say, God Squad is doing a great job of just controlling every single fight around them. We talked about this is the place they like to land, this is the place they know, and you can see that they are making use of it. They're just going after squad to squad to squad and just eliminating in these nice solid rotations around their hometown.
I like that. The open res in the middle of a field where no one is shooting at you. That's just a little bit of a ballsy move there. Eunited still holding on to this fence line. Honeybadgernation is there as well. They've been shooting at Dignitas this entire time. The pressure has begun to mount. Flyquest is taking it from Trigger Happy. Cloud9 also engaged with Gankstars. The top of this hill is starting to pop off as Trigger Happy is now arriving from their rotation. Still 4 strong.
Trigger Happy is just exploding on the northern area of the map right now. They've done a lot of damage.
Another one.
Eliminate 2 different squads as they're pushing out and forward. Are they still 4-man strong at this point?
Yes, Trigger Happy has got 5 kills. They've now taken out Gankstars. Flyquest did survive. I haven't seen another team eliminated just yet. It looks like Sharky, the last man standing from them. He's arrived on scene with Cloud9, but Trigger Happy playing with confidence here in the early game.
They are in a lot of control over this northern area. They can play along the hillsides. Naturally, the circle is probably going to shift back down, probably a little bit more close to the actual airport itself, you know, with landing pads where all the planes are at, which is a wide open area. I got to say, Team Gates is also doing a good job on hitting some shots, and I think that Stab just got the kill onto Sharky. He had to crash inside their building and not going to let them survive.
So for Flyquest eliminated here again, Team Gates trying to hold off Wildcard on their transition down the hill. Motivate is there as well. This is going to be an interesting area. There's a lot of open space around that spot along the fences and the plains. Currently held by Eunited. Slime Squad pressing them from behind, and you can see Dignitas has been taking casualties as well. Now it's going to be Eunited and Slime Squad along the fence line. This is going to be huge for Slime Squad. They take the initial down and kill from Carbon. They are split as well. They have members in the middle of the military base as well.
It looks like they're playing for a little bit of safety at this point. They're hoping the guys at the wall can hold it, but Microstar again performing. We saw him really pop off yesterday, get some kills whenever he needed to, and this is one of those moments when he really needs to get something off of it. Another down's going to be followed up by NRG, who's just peppering into the back of Eunited at the direct time. Microfry is in a position going right up against Microstar. I guess we'll find out who's the better Micro.
Absolutely. So we do have only Microfry versus Microstar. He does have, I believe, a down teammate there as well, unless the res did get popped off. So for now, Trigger Happy trying to get past Optic. They're put their smoke grenades down. They're trying to get to the fence line. Optic not allowing them to get there unscathed. Cover fire has gone down. It's actually Nova who gets the initial down, and Fearme does take a couple of shots as well. That's
a little bit of vengeance coming back from the last game where we saw Trigger Happy get their win. You know, Optic feels good about getting a little bit of vengeance there. God Squad, actually, out of all squads, are going to get the kill onto Microstar we were talking about beforehand. They're just doing a good job. Look at their positioning inside of this circle. They're controlling about a good 1/4 of the circle at the direct time just due to their firing angles that they have. You can tell anybody that's trying to reposition has to deal with the angles and any shots coming from them. You have to know that this circle is going to be extremely hectic. There's lots of cover, very few angles to see, a lot of space. So there's a lot of players alive. NRG making a vehicle push to the fence line. They're getting attention from both Motivate and Wildcard. Honeybadgernation on the reverse end, and even there, this fence line is an absolute firing range. Both sides, C9 and Trigger Happy, it's an absolute bloodbath. I love the positioning coming out from those guys, though. They just drove up, they dropped down 2 UAZs right next to them, so they actually have 3 different points of defense. They were the guys on the tail end of this, so they know that there's nobody back behind them. It's going to force all the pressure from Eunited. Look, they know that they have to reposition. They have to get someplace where they can kind of bunker down. It looks like they're going to try to go over to where Jimmer's at. So this vehicle setup is actually quite nice from an execution standpoint from NRG. They have to expect these vehicles are not going to survive this stage. Eunited and Honeybadgernation getting tangled up. Honeybadgernation actually taking a ton of casualties. NRG is going to hold on to this fence line at least for a little while, but they are getting fired upon from all sides. Both Penta and K-Mind are down. Venerated getting involved with that long shot.
Wildcard there. Also, NRG made the right move, but it's not paying off.
There's just still too many people alive right now. It's exactly what we were talking about beforehand. They get into this great position, and then everybody just turns and looks at them and just starts to destroy them. They're trying to get the smokes out, trying to survive, but you can see Microfry does go down and die from 2 different people, peppering from 2 different angles on them.
So Eunited has been taking a lot of damage, and it looks like they will be finished off here. The circle is about to change once again. Everyone is inside. This is going to dictate whether or not most teams will stay in the military base or have to move out towards where NRG and Wildcard are. Totality, however, has a nice spot on the edge of the circle. They've got the high ground rocky area on top of a bunker. They should have lots of visibility here, but for Spacestation Gaming and Cloud9, it is very close quarters.
Everybody's kind of stacked on top of each other at this point. They have a good idea on where the guys around them are. All depends about circle shift. The guys that are playing specifically around those outside bunkers or hangars or whatever you want to call them, we can see that there's several squads stacked up on multiple of those. So they're going to have to break apart and disengage on top of each other. We're finally starting to see Ghost feel way more comfortable in their positioning. They're getting a lot more downs, getting a lot of kills coming out of this, and a lot of damage is still being thrown NRG's way.
So for NRG specifically, they have, I believe, got a couple of reses up. I see Penta is still alive. Totality's got 3 kills for themselves. Trigger Happy has made it into the circle, but they have taken casualties on the way there. Nova as well as Optic holding onto the edge. Wildcard still trying to find a seam to get around Totality. They just can't figure it out.
There's so much damage that's coming on NRG, but they just can't quite kill them, you know? They're in a spot where they can potentially get back reses, throw down the smokes on it. The problem is NRG is just losing so many meds. You can see that their helmets are just going everywhere. A lot of them don't even have arm anymore. Meanwhile, the guys from Trigger Happy, Fear is just in a position. Looks like he's going to try to catch Optic as they might go for a reposition on this. He knows he doesn't want to push back down through this, but the circle has popped, going much more further south over next to where the airplane are going to be at. So that means that we've got Honeybadgernation and Slime Squad inside the circle.
This entire top half is going to be an absolute push. It's going to be up to Slime Squad and Orbit to deal with these pressuring teams. Totality already making the jump to the next bunker. NRG has a decent spot, but they have no room to move as there's so many eyes looking at them. Their vehicles have been destroyed. They're going to have to use their utility to get to this area here, potentially even further in. The planes are out as well. Not a lot of options for NRG, but really the story is Ghost. They have a nice spot hanging out in this little compound. They don't have to move that air ATC.
ATC, I think it's right.
ATC is the right call, regardless. But they're holding on to that. They have good vision, and they're getting kills.
The problem now is Wildcard's having to move. NRG has already gone for a reposition. They are inside the circle. Looks like they've got a nice spot. The guys from Totality are directly on top of Team Gates right now, so a little bit of an unlikely alliance is they can't shoot at each other due to the positioning, but anybody that's across of them has 2 different squads firing out, and you can see that the guys from Motivate are just kind of pinned right now. Wildcard's just trying to run out and get away. A lot of damage coming out, and Smithy lines up a beautiful shot.
Nice.
That is so much damage coming out.
Really nice shots from Purdy coming out. Now it's going to be Motivate trying to make their mad dash out of their bunker. Totality here trying to clean up as much as they can. Space Station Gaming being forced out. Cloud9 just a little bit further ahead. D-Master is the last man standing for his squad, but God Squad is the one that is C9's focus of attention here. God Squad has been very active, and they've been doing a good job of picking up kills. 9 so far.
9 kills inside of this area. They just got another down. They are hard pushing over to where Cloud9 is at. A down does come out on a Pistola time. Nice shots coming out from them. But coming up on the backside of this is going to be Optic, and they just destroy Cloud9 between the 2 of them.
Absolutely. God Squad and Optic pinching Cloud9. They had no options there, but now Orbit and Nova, who have been slowly snaking their way through the grass, they have Totality looking right at them, but I think they're just a little bit too distracted with those on the edge. Cover fire as the last, or sorry, Fear Me, the last man standing from Trigger Happy. Gunner is there as well. Optic has all moved in. That northern end of the play zone is very packed with teams.
Meanwhile, Wildcard still can't quite make it inside the safe circle. They're outside and in the blue at the direct time. Gonna die to the zone, and that's gonna eliminate them. Trigger Happy goes down as well. Totality still has this high ground position. Nice shots coming out from Snowbird, but he does get taken down as God Squad still active. They want every single kill that they can get right now. Is he gonna see him? Yes, shoots him from the top. That's gonna be a nice shot coming out from Drazzle.
14
They're just
kills.
getting control of this entire game.
God Squad is using their loot advantage to huge effect here. They have 14 total kills. We are at 9 teams remaining, only 23 players alive. NRG is still alive here as well. Totality at the edge of the circle. Ghost still holding on. If they can get another top 5 here, that'll be huge for them.
Well, we have Orbit and Nova right next to each other. Nova is really pincered in. They're looking over towards Totality as those guys are going to have to move inside the circle. Circle is now up, and really it's just the guys from Ghost, a little bit of a foothold from the guys from Orbit. The guys from Nova can come down a little bit, but there's no cover really inside of this. There's just going to be the area around Ghost and Orbit to play in, and that's just wide open field other than that.
The ATC hold has been huge for Ghost so far. They've got the windows, they've got the height, they've got the vision. They can see everyone around them for the most part. You can see Venerate is still trying to pop heads with that Car 98. He knows God Squad is there. The wide peak comes out from them. They have to move towards them, so they're just trying to get as much tick damage as possible. They have to be careful not to take too much from God Squad. They could easily get overwhelmed.
There is just so much fire coming from God Squad right now. Totality does see Team Gates, and they're making their push on the outside of this and inflicts a little bit more damage. Venerated and McCoy right now are just trying to do whatever they can. They're on full damage control. God Squad's just trying to breach right up into their building and just forcing it. Look at this. They're just cutting across this wide open field. There's about to be a foothold. People are now making it in the lower area, and that's just going to force Ghost to keep going higher and higher. And McCoy does go down on the outside of this.
The smoke grenade on the stairs does go down. Now it's going to be up to him. Try and clutch it against this pushing team. It's up to Venerated now. He's the last man standing. He has the angle. Will he be able to do it? He actually moves right past. He's outside.
That's a sneaky spot, but it's not going to pay off for him.
So Venerated tried to get out the window, maybe looking for a flank there, but Ghost does go down in 8th place. Now Totality maybe waiting a little bit too long in their transition, getting held out, and they're getting eviscerated in the open field.
As active as God Squad has been in this game, this is the spot you do not want to give them. They are just murdering everything around them. They are just looking for anything that moves and just throwing bullets at it and getting kill after kill. They're at 17 kills, Moses.
This is absolutely insane. This is the game they needed. Optic still holding strong as well. Hypoc, the last man by himself. Orbit is there. He's creeping through the factory. This is going to be huge for Optic. They need a good finish and some kills here. He moves right past Mystery, who spotted him. Oh, he's got 2 down. There's 1 left. He does finish it off. He's getting flanked. The return. Unfortunately, unable to clutch that. Hypoc does go down in 4th place. That's a nice pickup from them at the end. 6 kills for Orbit. God Squad looking great here.
Oh, Pat Caps with a crazy grenade on the outside of it. Now it is just 1 solo. 18 kills for God Squad. And I got to say, Wooly, you're live off over there, but it's not looking too good for you, buddy.
Honestly, NRG, the fact that they were able to make it into this top 2 situation, even though it looks very dire for Wooly, they were getting absolutely peppered on that fence line. They've done a great job of kind of... Oh, he's been spotted.
Yeah, bye, Wooly.
Okay.
Nice attempt there. 19 kills coming out from God Squad.